It has long been unlawful for directors of companies to allow a company to trade while the company is insolvent. In simplest form, directors must not allow a company to continue to trade once that company has reached the point where it is no longer able to meet its debts as those debts fall due. The company in this case was an interior fittings company supplying office partitions to create office cubicles. It had two directors, Mr. and Mrs. Clark, but the very clear evidence was that Mrs. Clark took no role in the management of the company and merely signed things when she was asked to. The company had a large customer who is also therefore a large debtor. The debtor failed, and so Southern Cross Interiors became just another unsecured creditor. Because they did not get paid, they too became insolvent. While they were still trading, they had paid a considerable amount of tax to the Australian Tax Office. After Southern Cross Interiors failed, the liquidator sought to recover that tax on the basis that it was what is called a preferential payment. That is, a payment made to one creditor which places that creditor in a better position than other creditors of the insolvent company. While the case was underway, the Corporations Act 2001 was introduced, and so the court had to determine for the first time the meaning of the new insolvent trading provisions. In particular, the court had to consider the liability of Mrs. Clark. Could she be considered to have engaged in insolvent trading given her practical lack of knowledge of the company's affairs? Justice Palmer said, "The law recognises that the relationship of trust and confidence between married people may lead one of them to undertake responsibilities or liabilities which would not have been undertaken but for the relationship. That reality of human experience, when it produces financial liability for the unsuspecting or incautious spouse, has recently acquired the provocative tag of sexually transmitted debt." Justice Palmer found that the trust arising from the marital relationship was a sufficient excuse to allow the court to say that Mrs. Clark was not breaching the corporations law by trading while insolvent. From this case, we learn that insolvent trading is contrary to the duty of directors, but there are limited defences to that duty depending on the reasonable knowledge of the director at the time.